Ladies and gentlemen, you are with Ayuta TV, the online talk show of the International Association of the Universities of the Third Age. The topic of today's episode is Australia on Focus, and we will present the activities and the study tours of the U3A at Toowoomba in Queensland. We have Mrs. Weston, Rhonda Weston from the Australian U3A in Toowoomba, and we are very, very glad to have you in this broadcast, Rhonda.
Thank you, Georgie.
First of all, could you please present yourself with some words? Tell us more about yourself.
Rhonda Weston, President of U3A in Toowoomba. We have a very large U3A in Toowoomba, and I lead a team of 11 people on our management committee. I enjoy being the president of U3A in Toowoomba. It is very challenging, but it keeps me academically and socially engaged.
What brings you personally to you being part of the U3A movement?
I think it's important for seniors everywhere, Georgie, and for myself to make connections. And those connections are what keeps us interested and interesting people. We really, really need to be academically challenged and socially connected to have a healthy and active aging. And so they're the key reasons that I belong to U3A. And I see it makes such a difference to people in our community. It just makes a huge difference to the lives of people in Toowoomba.
How long do you participate in the U3A in Toowoomba?
I've been a member since 2004, and I've been the president since 2011. So I was the vice president in 2010, and I have been at that time also president of the Queensland State Network and the Alliance Australia, as well as 3 years as the chair of the Asia Pacific Alliance. So while I believe very strongly that it's important in our local community, I believe equally as strong that it is important for around our state, around our nation, and our international connection.
And I'm delighted to say that your activities were appreciated by the local community, actually. Yesterday, you and your husband received a special award as Citizens of the Year in Toowoomba. Could you tell us more about this ceremony, please?
Yes, it was a very, very special day, Australia Day yesterday, obviously, and around Queensland and around Australia, people who make a difference to community are honoured with awards on Australia Day. There are certainly a number of different awards, and the one that David and I were honoured with was Toowoomba Citizens of the Year, and our whole Toowoomba region, which is a really vast area, much probably bigger than your country, and we were also Regional Citizens of the Year. So that was a really great honour, and we were awarded that for our work with U3A.
And speaking of U3A Toowoomba, what are the main kind of activities that U3A organizes in Toowoomba? What is your social, intellectual, academic life?
We cover all aspects of that in Toowoomba, as we do in most U3As in Australia. And we have things like, we have art classes, we have music classes, we have sporting activities, we have a large number of academic activities, discussion groups, we have music, many music classes, language classes. I think that in U3A in Toowoomba, just off the top of my head, we have something like 8 different languages that you can investigate every week. We have hobbies and sport. We have a huge group of people who play tennis. So that's always very popular, and we have 2 tennis groups.
And everything is community-based. Everything is organized by the local community, like volunteers, people who spend their spare time.
Yes,
is it right?
everybody. Yes, everybody in U3A in Toowoomba and every other U3A in Australia, we're all volunteers. So the lady in the pink there in that photo with our Tai Chi group, Lucy, she's the volunteer tutor, and there's some members of her Tai Chi group. But every single person, all of our management team, everybody gives freely of their time. And in U3A in Toowoomba, we do not receive any government funding or any funding from our local councils or our local universities. So it's all membership based and volunteers from our membership.
This is great. I mean, this is a really great tradition, because this is what empowers people on a local level.
It does. And,
yes.
and a sense of ownership of their organisation, and a sense of being able to make a difference to the organisation. And here you see some of our management team at our Seniors Expo last year. They're really, really dedicated and committed group of people who spend many, many thousands of hours every year making sure that U3A can offer to its members the service that it says it's there for.
And also you participate in pottery classes. I see that
yes,
you produce pottery.
Yes, one of the craft classes that we run is actually pottery. We have lead lighting. We have absolute, you name it. We just about can achieve anything in the way of craft, from the basic things like knitting and crocheting. We have sewing circles. We have wood turning, and we have paper clay modelling. If there's a craft around, we pretty well have it on offer in U3A in Toowoomba.
In terms of curricula, what actually U3A members prefer? Art classes? Is there some science or technology? What you produce as a classes?
I think the most popular ones at the moment, and this does change as the years change, iPads, anything to do with technology, iPads, iPhones, iWatches. Those classes are really, really very popular. The physical classes for things like Pilates and Tai Chi, yoga, language classes, people just really, really keen to learn a second or a third language. And some of our language classes, for example, like French, German, Italian and Spanish, we run 3 different classes on 3 different levels every week. So people can go right from basic beginners in Spanish right through to intermediate and then to advanced. So language classes are really important. We do have some science classes, but I think that history is also extremely important. We actually have the problem in U3As in Toowoomba, Georgie, where we have more people wanting to get into classes than we have volunteer tutors to offer them. So people go on waiting lists and sometimes get upset because the class is full and they just can't get into it. We have an open morning once a year in January, so we can actually talk to people, members of the public who are thinking about joining us. They come in, they have a chat. Our tutors are on hand, so they can chat to the tutors, find out more information about a particular class and whether it might suit them. And so they can sign up then if there's spaces in the class.
It's important to say that everything is based on volunteership. For me, this is a very, very important part in the culture of the society. So people can donate their time, their skills, everything they can share. And volunteering is probably the best option to build community. And I'm really, really impressed that the interest to your classes is bigger than you can actually respond to.
It is, and there are always some things that people can get into. For example, on a Monday morning, I organise a series of guest speakers. So every Monday morning, we have a different guest speaker come, and for an hour, we have the presentation, and then we have half an hour of question and answers. And I have got 260 people on my class roll who turn up every Monday morning to hear a guest speaker. So diverse range of activities at U3A in Toowoomba. We have about 150 volunteer tutors. We could really do with 200 if we could just, find enough people to come along and help us, because I can see that U3As are going to keep growing around the world, and I can definitely see it happening in Australia, that there's not going to be any lessening of interest, at least in the next 15 years. We have once a year, we have a Seniors Information Expo, where organisations that have activities or services that relate to seniors come along, and people can come in and chat to them. We have about 1,700 visitors through the door in about 6 hours, and it's a wonderful day where we call it the one-stop shop for everything to do with seniors. So the public can come along and talk to different organisations. That's a community service that we do. We offer it. It's not to find out about U3A, it's to find out about all the other services that are available for seniors and retirees in our area.
Great. And there are 220 attending people this event.
That's the guest speaking series I was just talking about last year. That's one of the photos from last year where there were 220 people attending. And this year, over the holidays, we have December and January on holidays from U3A in Australia. So new members are coming along in January. We start next week, and there's people signing up to come. So therefore, the 260 people that are on the roll for this year. It's very, very popular. People have got a thirst for knowledge, Georgie, and being able to cater to that thirst for knowledge is very important in U3As in Australia.
And this is Ancient Beliefs class.
It is. It was the presentation. I was asked to give them an end-of-year presentation last year as the president, and David as the tutor coordinator. This is a group that have been meeting for 2 years, and they are very passionate about studying ancient beliefs because they have a really deep interest in history. So it was something that was a little bit different, but it was something that was very important to this group to delve into the history of beliefs and the belief structure.
It's very interesting. I see on the map that actually you're interested in Mesopotamia. This is the ancient world in Asia, Western Asia.
Yes.
And on the map we see Mesopotamia, Babylon, the great rivers Tigris and Euphrates.
It's something. It's a little bit, I guess, the importance of history and from people understanding the basis of society and community, where people have come from, how life has evolved, how religion has evolved, or beliefs, faith. And so this class was really committed to learning and delving into the history. And so I guess that beliefs are formed from knowledge. And this is something that these people were very keen to do. It was a 2-year course. This group have finished now. So this year there's another 2-year course starting with a different group of people, but the same subject.
I think also people are interested in beliefs because we all search for kind of meaning in our lives. And maybe we want to know how to solve this issue. What do we live about? What is our connection with the spirituality? And maybe people are interested also for very deep personal motivation.
They are, and the joy of classes and groups like this one is that at one point in this group there was some atheists, there was some retired Catholic priests, there was some retired Anglican priests, there was 2 ladies who were Buddhists, and then there was some retired Catholic nuns. So you can see that the room would have been very had very diverse opinions, but they were all there for a common cause of understanding the ancient beliefs and how that led everything towards to 2018.
Japanese sister city councillors on study tour. So here is actually maybe this is the transition to our next topic in this broadcast. It's
Yes.
about the study tours, the tourism, and how senior tourism is developed in the U3A of Toowoomba. So part of our searching of knowledge and information and building more knowledge and sharing knowledge is also visiting different places around the countries, around the regions, and around the world, globally speaking. So what is the interest of the U3A members, the main interest topics of the U3A members in Toowoomba related to traveling and tourism?
A large number of our members in Toowoomba love to travel. There's a really big attraction for people to travel to Europe, but I think there's a large number of people in U3A who want to travel with a difference. So they don't just want to head off to Europe or China or America or wherever and just see all the tourist sites. The big ask nowadays is for people to actually delve into cultures of other countries. And so while they're certainly enjoying the tourist aspect of other countries, that they really want to actually meet local people, find out how everyday people live and immerse themselves in their culture and their way of life. And I think that that's where a study tour differs from just going on a nice touristy holiday, which some people still enjoy, obviously. Some people just want to have everything there and flip from one tourist attraction to another. But most people that go to U3A are people who have a greater interest in just that slightly deeper level of understanding. And so I think that's why study tours are really important. And we very, very much enjoy when people from other countries come to Australia, come to Toowoomba. We have a sister city. Toowoomba has a sister city in Japan called Takasaki, and they come and visit our U3A. They've been 3 times now. When they come to Toowoomba, they really insist on coming and spending a day at U3A. They take notice of all the classes that we hold, how we interact with our members, what services we provide for our members. And David and I have been to visit Takasaki's our sister city, Takasaki, in Japan, when we were there having a conference the U3A conference in Osaka a couple of years ago. So the exchange of people, the exchange of meeting people face to face makes a huge difference. And a great outcome, Georgie, from this interaction with the Takasaki counsellors was the fact that every fortnight now, our Japanese language class at U3A Toowoomba has a Skype class with the Japanese adult learning class in Takasaki. So that has been a direct outcome from these people from Takasaki visiting us here in Toowoomba. And we just see that as fantastic because obviously all of our people really want to speak Japanese with somebody who's a native speaker of Japanese, as do the people in Japan want to do the same with learning English. So we're very pleased and we love hosting the people from Takasaki when they come. We've had interaction with their taiko drums. When they come out from Japan, they have a whole group of people providing these taiko drums. They are so noisy. The sound level of these drums is just unbelievable. If you've never heard them, you need to really have earmuffs on while you're playing them. But it was so much fun to have them visit our U3A. And as you can see in that photo, we had interaction with our members that we were all allowed to get up and have a practice on them. So they're all the cultural things, or some of the cultural things, obviously, that benefit both people from study tours.
I think it was the American writer John Steinbeck who said once that tourism is the best way of building peace, because when you visit some place, when you communicate with other people, from other nations and cultures, you can't hate them after that. And
yes, I agree.
Mm.
Makes a huge difference.
Yeah, huge difference, really. Getting to know people better, exploring their traditions, way of life, and building connections. So this is something that is really important in nowadays. Let's continue with these excellent activities that you present. Let me share another one photo with our viewers. So this is Japanese visitors at the art class.
Yes, when they were here, we try and share many of our classes as we can in one day. Obviously, they don't have too long to spend with us, but they're very interested in our art groups, and they're actually very interested in our ukulele groups as well. So they have a great appreciation of music, and between the art classes and the ukulele classes, I think that was probably their favorite, and they made a great connection with people in the room because they could see that the passion for people who were learning art, and it was explained to the Japanese visitors. So that was really a very rewarding day.
And also you have visitors from Thailand.
Yes, earlier last year we had a group from Slippercorn University in Thailand, and they're looking towards they were just starting up U3A in their area in Thailand. And so a number of them, as you can see in that photo, had 4 days to do a very quick study tour to Australia. So they visited another U3A in Queensland. Then they came up and spent a day in Toowoomba, and we were able to once again share our classes, and we shared information on how we structure our U3As. They were looking for the best way to manage U3A in their country, which obviously would be slightly different to the way we manage it in Australia. But they were looking for ideas and what works in our country, and trying to, I guess, not have everybody reinvent the wheel, but they were searching for knowledge on what works and what doesn't work in setting up a U3A. They were based at Slippercorn University, so they weren't all volunteers, but some of them were. And it was interesting for us to learn that in the way they were looking at setting up U3As was to work in the very small communities with community groups that already exist in country Thailand, and they were bringing some of the traditional ways of life and arts and craft of Thailand and passing those on to the generations to come so they wouldn't be lost. So that was really important, that they were focusing on preserving their culture, I guess, in their own country so they can have it for future generations. But they learned a lot from the day with us. We were able to share all our resources, all the way we set up our classes, the policies and procedures and the paperwork trails that we have. Very happy to share with them, and they were really very happy with the amount of information we were able to give them. So these connections, it would be great to think that we can just pop over to Thailand and visit them, but whether that'll happen or not, we don't know. But it's certainly good groundwork for the future.
The last photo that we can share now with our viewers, study tour interstate.
Yes, we often connect with our fellow U3A people here in Australia if we happen to travel interstate or even around our own state. But this is when David and I were travelling to Victoria. We went to visit a colleague at Nunawading U3A in Melbourne, and it was interesting. We've actually been doing this a number of times over the last 10 years, and even sharing our own within Australia. The way that we all manage our U3As is slightly different. And Victoria, the state of Victoria, are very fortunate. They get a lot of government funding from their state government, which we don't get from our state government in Queensland. So they have a lot of small U3As in Victoria, where in Queensland we have large U3As. For example, we've got in Toowoomba, we've got 2,150 members in our U3A just in Toowoomba. So we do know that a lot of people, when they travel to another city, not necessarily another state, but often they go and visit the local U3A. Some U3As in Australia have reciprocal rights. So if you live in Brisbane and there's the Brisbane U3A and another U3A on the Gold Coast, they have an arrangement where you can share classes. So you can belong to one U3A but go to classes in another U3A. There's quite a lot of U3As in Australia that do that. And so because different states have slightly different structures, there's always a lot to learn even from our Australian colleagues.
And finally, since traveling and study tours are an important part of the activities of the U3As, it is time to discuss the World Senior Tourism Congress, I think. In May, there will be the second World Senior Tourism Congress. You already attended the first World Senior Tourism Congress in Yantai 2018. And what is your impression from what you saw, what you heard, and from your participation generally?
I think it's extremely important, and we are already booked to attend the 2019 World Seniors Tourism Congress. And I learned a tremendous amount about what study tours can offer that would benefit our members, in that they will get a more rewarding experience from their travel if they go on a study tour rather than just as a tourist, as I mentioned earlier. And I think that was really brought home quite strongly when we were in Yantai last year. And we will definitely we're working very hard, and hopefully we'll be able to bring some of our U3A members to China on a study tour and attend, I think it's 2 days of the WSTC in 2019. So I'm hoping that will happen. I will definitely be there. David will definitely be there. And we're really focusing and working a lot with our local government to try and get support for this into the future.
The topic of the second World Senior Tourism Congress will be the supply side of senior tourism. And what do you expect from the second Congress in Yantai?
I'm hoping, Georgie, that we'll come home having listened to the representatives from all the countries that are going to be there about what a study tour would involve in their country. I plan to take with me a presentation that would show people what they could expect if they came on a study tour to Australia, but particularly to Queensland. And I'm expecting that everyone else there will have a presentation on their country and a direction for and a plan for the exchange of international study tours into the future. So I really would even like to come away from China with a list of countries that are going to be offering study tours as early as 2020. The time to talk past, Georgie. We need action.
Yes, great words. And since I know you already, I am pretty sure that when you say we need action, that will be really done. So, ladies and gentlemen, it was Mrs. Rhonda Weston from Toowoomba, Australia. It was our pleasure to present U3A of Toowoomba and this is Mr. Weston, one of the honorary citizens of the year. Mr. Weston, it is our honor to see you on the internet. So, live from Toowoomba, Australia, Rhonda Weston, David Weston, Rhonda and David Weston from Toowoomba. Stay with Ayuta TV and our future episodes.
Thank you, Georgie.
And bye-bye.